Hello, this is James Arthur Ray, the author of the New York Times bestseller Harmonic Wealth, and my latest book, Life Unleashed: How to Live Life on Your Own Terms, Harness Your Unique Genius, and Have Maximum Impact on the World. I hope you've read Life Unleashed. I hope you've been following this series. We've been exploring in great depth and detail the topic of stress. And I started off by stating to you that stress is not the enemy, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Stress is not the enemy. There are two enemies. There is your mindset, or how you interpret stress, and then there is lack of recovery. Now, up to this point, we've been exploring mindset because it's primary and it's so vitally important. These topics are game changers when you get them. I hope that you are. I hope you're waking up and looking at life a bit differently. We've explored the research of endocrinologist Hans Selye. We've explored the research of psychologist from Stanford, Carol Dweck. We've talked about eustress versus distress. We've talked about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. And then finally, we talked about coping mechanisms or coping strategies from psychology in our last session. And we said there are basically two: regressive coping and transformational coping. Are you learning a lot about yourself? Are you learning a lot about life? Are you maybe making some shifts in your consciousness? Because you see, it's shifts in consciousness that change the world. Now, let's go to chemistry, all right? There's a Nobel Prize-winning chemist by the name of Ilya Prigozhin. And Prigozhin won the Nobel Prize for his work on what he calls dissipating structures. Now, this work is vast, and the implications are even more vast. So we're not going to take the time, nor do we have the time in this short video, to get into all the implications and all the research from Prigozhin. But what I want to share with you is how this dovetails in to everything we've discussed thus far with regards to stress. Because what Prigozhin found is that structures, your body is a structure, your business is a structure, your relationship is a system. We could also call it systems or structures. All systems and structures go through phases. They go from entropy or chaos to order and back to entropy. Now, does that sound familiar? Well, if you're familiar with the laws of thermodynamics, you know that the number one law in thermodynamics is increasing entropy. And so things never stay in a static state. They're always in flux. Why? Because every single thing in this universe is comprised of 99.99999% energy. And energy is always in motion. Does that make sense to you? You following with me? So Prigozhin found that when systems and structures go into a state of entropy, those that are highly successful, we could also say chaos, those that are highly successful always reorganize with greater, and here's the kicker, capacity and capability. Now let's bring that into day-to-day life, because what you are constantly seeking, according to psychological research as well as neurosciences, is psychic order, to bring order from entropy. You're wanting to have psychic order. You're wanting to put order to your world and to your life. And that makes sense to you, right? When you move into psychic entropy, you have two options, and a lot of it is based upon what we've already explored. Do you have a fixed mindset, or do you have a growth mindset? Do you regress into the bottle, or do you reach for a book? Do you veg on the couch, or do you get to the gym? Do you avoid challenges and fold when things get difficult, or do you move forward in faith and say, I'm going to develop, advance, and grow? All the things we've been exploring. Because what Prigozhin's work proves is that to the degree that you can take a chaotic situation, you can take entropy and bring order to it in your mind, that your mind literally builds new neurological connections. It builds new neurological capacity. It creates greater capability and potentiality for your life and for your living. Does that make sense to you? Man, this is important. You know, to the degree you define your chaos, you might be facing it right now, as an opportunity to create order, to create psychic order. How? Through a growth mindset. I'm going to utilize this for my own development, advancement, growth. Through transformational coping, I'm going to transform this situation into something that works for me versus on me or against me. Now, according to Prigozhin, people who bring order to chaos are not just commendable. They're not just virtuous and courageous. They are the essence of life itself. Let me give you a couple of simple examples. You know, if you go all the way back in the history of mankind, fire, right? Fire occurred randomly. It was chaotic. You know, a volcano erupted, lightning struck, things were destroyed. It was entropy. But at some point in time, our species decided to harness that chaos, and the entire world changed. Does that make sense to you? You know, water can destroy, it can also create. To the degree that we work in harmony with nature, from the most mundane to the most magnificent, from the day to day to the year to year, then we harness the power, and we work in harmony with the power of chaos, and we bring it to order. And that's not just virtuous and courageous. In fact, study after study after study prove that individuals who face extreme adversity are the ones, and they're able to transform that into something that works for them, are the true heroes. Viktor Frankl comes to mind, if you've read his book on how he was imprisoned in the concentration camps, and he used that heinous experience to come out and create logotherapy. He held that as a vision. He used that as eustress to compel him forward. He transformed his heinous environment and experience into something that was going to work for him, to teach him, to study the men around him, and to understand the difference between those who folded and checked out of this life and those who thrived and moved forward in faith. Which one are you? What are you doing with your stress? Please, please, don't wish for an easier life. That's illusion. You say, James, you said this so many times before. Yes, and repetition is the second law of learning and transformation. I'll give it to you again and again and again. Maybe you'll emblazon it on the screen of your mind. I hope that you will. Don't wish for an easier life. That's illusion. Wish for greater capacity and capability to get through the challenges life brings. And I know that you, like me, recognize as you look back in retrospect across your life, the times when you grew the most, you advanced the most, you learned the most, you became bigger, better, faster, stronger. You became more compassionate for the human experience. Were those times where you sometimes felt like, man, I don't even know if I have what it takes. But you do. And you did. And you continue to. And all you must do now is transform it in your mind, to have a shift in your consciousness and reframe it to a growth mindset, to become a dissipating system that dissipates and mitigates the chaos and the entropy, that you harness that and you begin to utilize it like we did with fire. I hope I've given you some things once again to think about. This series is not done. Hey, get to Life Unleashed Live. If you love this series, you're going to love the full-day event Life Unleashed Live, because we're going to get into this and so much more about what it means to live life on your own terms, to harness your own unique genius, to set your own objectives and goals, not things that you've been conditioned to believe and the bill of goods you've been sold, and to have maximum impact on the world. Until we speak again, stay awake, love life, and be epic.